Welcome back to another episode of the Bleav Kings podcast. I'm your host, Mark Haynes, and today I have a very, very special guest. He doesn't really need an introduction. We all know who you are, but he's the host and owner of all the smoke productions, 14-year NBA veteran, just a megastar in this podcast world, and a lot more. My guy, Mr. Matt Barnes, who's also from Sacramento, California.
What's good, bro? Thanks for having me.
Oh man, I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your busy schedule or whatever, penciling me in, but I'm not gonna hold you long and we gonna get straight to it. Mike Brown was fired in Sacramento. What was your first initial thoughts?
Cold game. You know, this is a year removed from unanimous coach of the year, but it's weird because I've played for Mike. I've seen Mike from afar. Obviously, working for the Kings, you know, you got to kind of stick to team support all the time. But there's several different angles. First of all, the way it happened from what's being reported is kind of weak. You know what I mean? To
Right.
allow this man to, run a practice and then head to the plane and be traded, that's garbage. And I love the fact that all these NBA coaches are speaking out because this is a cutthroat business, man. I think people look at it like, damn, this is messed up. Woo. I mean, players can get traded, cut, waived at any time. And now we're seeing with players making so much money that the coaches are always going to be the first one to go. You look at the Lakers situation with Darvin Ham and where the team was last year compared to where they're at this year. You know what I mean? The coach is always going to be the first option to go because these guys are making so much money now. But when I first came in the league, it was always, coach's word was what it was. Coaches had a lot more power when I came in the league in the early 2000s than they do today. With that said, I've played for Mike, and please don't take this the wrong way because I think Mike is a great guy. He's personable. He's a player's coach. But I think Mike is a better second chair guy, meaning lead assistant. I think Mike flourishes when he's in that second spot where the pressure of running the team isn't on him, and he can focus on. He's been known, as kind of as a defensive juggernaut. So when he can really lock in on the defensive side, I think that's where Mike is at his best. So when this hiring happened, I was kind of like, is this the right move? Like I said, I think he came in and he's such a cool guy that everyone kind of bought into it. But then when it got down to really being a leader of this team, and again, I don't necessarily know the inner works of the locker room because I'm not with, NBC no more. So, but when I was hearing some things, I already kind of knew that. You know what I mean? Again, I played for him and kind of saw, and again, he's not a bad guy. But I think the most important thing in the league nowadays is these guys have to respect you. They're making so much money that if they don't respect you, you don't stand a chance, period.
Right.
And I think that he possibly, and again, this is just all speculation because I'm on the outside looking in as a fan now, I think he lost the locker room. And, then you hear, that Vivek, and I love Vivek and his daughter, they've always showed me so much love and respect. But again, being around the organization, you kind of hear that Vivek loves the game and is so passionate about the game, but doesn't necessarily kind of know the full scope of the game, that he kind of makes decisions that are kind of like, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whether this came from Monty McNair or ultimately Vivek, I just think the way they went about it was wrong. But it's going to be interesting to see how Doug does now. Is this a set up to a no-win situation for Doug? Is he interim for half a season to see what he can do? And no matter what, they're going to find somebody else. They're really out of interesting space. And then you hear DeAaron, you hear the rumors about him possibly leaving. And so there's just a lot of I wouldn't say unnecessary, just when you're trying to focus on the task at hand, there's a lot of outside noise constantly. And that's, as a player, sometimes that's hard to kind of, come on, let's let everyone tune all this out and let's focus on the game.
Right. And Matt, obviously you played in the league and you played on good teams and you played on some bad ones. Do you think you can really recover from, a season like the Kings are having right now?
Oh, I mean, I think it's early enough in the season to still be able to, make a turnaround and get right in that play-in mix. Again, no one's really ran away in the bottom of the Western Conference, and although the Kings haven't been playing well, you go on a 6, 7, 8 game winning streak, and you put yourself right back in, the lower bottom of that play in, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 area. So I definitely don't think it's over, but it's really going to be on the guys. And is Monty McNair going to make a move before the trade deadline? Again, I've never seen DeAaron Fox thrown around in so many different trade scenarios. Is he unhappy? You know what I mean? These small markets have to do their best as fast as they can to keep young stars happy. And DeAaron Fox is a young star, and Sacramento's a small market. And, guys, I'm sure he has people and family in his ear like, hey, you've given 8 years? I don't know how long he's been there, 8, 9 years to this organization. You've been in one playoff series, but your numbers are still here. Maybe we should make a move. You know what I mean? So he starts hearing it and possibly thinking it. So there's a lot of action over there right now, and it's really going to take someone to really grab the reins of this team and settle them down. And to me, winning always starts at the top. So that's going to be Vivek, and it's a trickle-down effect through management and the way Doug can make these guys respond and the players actually responding.
And yeah, when DeMar first came, and they finally got the set roster. DeMar was really the only person they brought in of any significance. It brought a lot of hype, in the city. Everybody's like, oh, the Kings can make the conference finals or, the second round, whatever. What did you think when you first seen, the entire roster?
I actually loved the initial thought of it. And when I heard of it, because to me, and I say this with all due respect, Sabonis is not a second option. Sabonis is a kind of Swiss Army knife. And if he can be a 17, 13, and 9 guy, but when you're really going to make a run in the playoffs, you need that consistent 20-point every single night guy. And obviously, DeAaron is one of those guys. DeAaron is the alpha. But then when I thought with DeMar coming in with his experience, he's been a 20-point game scorer pretty much his whole entire career. I thought that it would work. And I'm not saying that it hasn't worked. And to be honest with you, I've probably only caught 2 Kings games, and one he didn't even play. So I'm not really sure where he's at or what he's doing. But when I initially saw this, I'm like, this is what this team needed, because they needed that consistent second scorer.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I was kind of scared of it. I not of the move bringing in DeMar. Obviously, Harrison Barnes is a great guy, whatever. But it was an upgrade when you bring DeMar in. But I was so stuck on the bench and like, what's going to be the rotation? Now Malik Monk is in the starting lineup, so that makes the bench even thinner. But did you think that the starting 5 would be so, powerful or so high powered as far as scoring that it could kind of even that out?
No, I mean, you always need bench depth in this league. You don't need a ton of it, but you definitely need it. And I saw when Malik Monk was starting to be a consistent starter, I knew that was a red flag for me, because he is so great in that second role where he can really run the team and give DeAaron a quick break or really down to crunch time. You always saw last year where he was the one making a lot of plays, for DeAaron and for DeMontis down the stretch. So when he was inserted to the starting lineup, I thought, okay, have they given up on Herter? Is he just not playing well? I really feel like Malik Monk for this particular team, not that he's not starting caliber, because he's definitely a starter in this league in any other situation, but he's best served for this team coming off the bench. And the fact now that he's in there, like you said, it cuts down the depth, but it doesn't bring no punch. I say this with all due respect, there's just no punch coming off that bench now.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. When you think about moves, because this is something else has to happen. Mike Brown isn't going to be the only thing that transpires right now. But when you think about moves and roster moves, what type of move do you think the Sacramento Kings should go after?
I mean, I think they need frontline depth. They haven't really been able to find it. The past few years, it's been, obviously Sabonis, who's an undersized, not very athletic position defender instead of someone that can actually protect the rim. Alex Len and JaVale McGee have split time, but I guess they didn't really like that. But I definitely feel they need some frontline depth. But my question to you, because I haven't watched the team this year, how's Keegan Murray been playing?
Well, Keegan Murray, he's turned into like just a defender. He's rebounding the ball well. He's defending the best player every night, and he's doing a heck of a job. I think I seen a stat where he was like number one in like most difficult. They got all kinds
Guys
of crazy
scoring,
yeah, but guys are struggling to score against him or whatever. So he's been amazing on defense, but it has caused his offense and his shot to I don't know, it's gone right now.
And that's he was, not to cut you off, I mean, he was on a trajectory to be a 18, 20 point and be a lockdown defender. And I'm glad to hear that the defensive side has picked up. Mike Brown challenged him very early in his rookie year to guard the best player, even though it wasn't a favorable matchup a lot of nights his rookie year, but he took that challenge, and with his size and his length, his ability to move his feet, quick hands, it definitely has served him well. So this is year 3, if I'm not mistaken. He's definitely taken from what you're saying, he's taken leaps forward in rebound, which is important, but he's taken a step back on the offensive end. And I feel like he needs to be that. I mean, he showed flashes of, man, he might possibly be the second option for this team. You know what I mean? So he needs to be, I think, where they possibly put Malik, and again, this is speculation. I just smoked a joint. I haven't watched a ton of games, right? Don't tell him. But I think maybe because his lack of production, maybe that's why they needed to get more of a punch in the starting lineup, because Malik is going to be instant offense. So, you really need those guys like Keegan to step up and give you, he at this point 16 to 18 points a game, and then Herder. And Herder's had kind of a tough run. I think this is the probably the most mentally strenuous situation he's been in, because Sacramento fans are like, that all there is basketball in Sacramento. That's it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you don't perform, they're going to be on your ass. So I think he's heard a lot of the BS and the outside noise. And I think his whole thing is mental, because he's shown when he's locked in, he's one of the most clutch shooters and best shooters in the game. So when I look at this team and I see the record, and again, this is outside looking in, but it's just more basketball IQ and understanding of the game. Those two guys, those should be your starting two, and now with DeMar. So maybe that's your starting. Maybe Herder's the starting 2 and Keeg would be the starting 4, something like that. But you need those guys to score, because DeAaron's going to give you, mid-20s. DeMar's going to give you, now he's a little bit older. I think he's around 35. I think DeMar's going to give you, anywhere 18 to 22, and he's capable of giving you 40. Sabonis, again, is that Swiss Army knife. You can't count on Sabonis to be your second scoring option. He needs to just be able to play his game, which is going to be double-digit rebounds, double-digit points, and then nearly double-digit assists. So, but to your question earlier, there's definitely still time to turn it around. Will the team make a move, or will they just let Doug see if he can, relight a fire under these guys' butts and get them playing better?
Yeah, and back to Keegan or whatever, and just thinking about good teams. Something I kind of chopped up in my head a while ago. Like, good teams always have a guy that they need, and that guy is also going to be the guy they blame if they fall short. And I feel like Keegan is that guy. Like in Miami, you had Chris Bosh and Kevin Love. It's always that third guy who's kind of, and I think that's Keegan this year. And I think he's definitely feeling the pressure of, because he's being called out, social media all the time about, oh, he went, 1 for 7 and 3 and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And I think he's feeling that pressure, and I think it's mental with him and Kevin Herter. But I think, I agree with you. He has to be good on both sides of the floor if this team is going to be a good basketball team. If not, if he struggles, if nobody else steps up, but if Keegan struggles specifically, they're going to have a tough time getting into this play-in.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with what you said, and it also just kind of shows like the village you build around these guys with the coaching staff. Over the years they've had the Bobby Jacksons, the Rico Hines, the Jordys that can really kind of bridge the gap between the head coach, the outside BS in the media, and just real talking these guys. That's why I feel that vets in this game are so important. Kind of imagine having an OG on that team that's 39, 40, doesn't necessarily play, but he just, gets on Keegan and understands how to talk to Keegan, understands how to talk to Kevin Herter, knows how to bridge the gap between Mike's message and what's being delivered to the team. And I just don't think the NBA has that. So if you're not going to have it as players, you have to have it around as, the coaching staff and younger guys on the coaching staff that can be that bridge and help these, these younger players and even a little bit older. Herder's been in the league for a little bit, but just help them get over the mental hurdles that come during the season. So, there's a cloud over that team, but again, we're, 40 games, 30 games in, 35 games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how far in we are, but there's
31.
still plenty, we're still, we're in the dog days of the league right now.
Yep.
If they can turn around, a lot of teams take their foot off the gas right now until All-Star break. So if this is something where this, Doug can come in and reunite the energy and the passion of this team, and this team in the month of January can, play 5 games above 500. That's going to put them back in the mix going into All-Star break, getting a little break, and then ready for that, that stretch run post All-Star.
All right, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. This is my last question. We go jump into the rumor mill here. What would happen to this organization if DeAaron Fox was to leave?
It'll be tough. It'll be tough. And again, as I spoke earlier, that's the fear of all these small market teams. You know what I mean? DeAaron Fox is the alpha. Earlier in the season, in the offseason, we hear is Giannis going to bust a move? All these small markets have to do absolutely anything and everything they can to put product around these stars and cater to these stars. So, if DeAaron were to leave, I'm hoping and thinking you would get, a lot of firepower back. But this is a realistic, Kings fans really do have to, if you're a huge DeAaron Fox fan, you're going to lose sleep, the next 6 weeks, whether he's staying or going. Has this team reached its pinnacle with him as the best player? Again, that's another question that people have to ask. He's been the guy. I mean, again, this is year 8, if I'm not mistaken, year 9. He's been the man for the last, 6-7 years. And, they've only made it to the first round one time, and obviously took the Warriors to 7 games. But that's the hard part. That it's you have to really draft well, and you have to trade well, and because it's going to be hard to get a star, a superstar, to come to a small market.
Yep. Nah, you said it best, man. I appreciate you for jumping on here and giving me some of your time or whatever, and spitting your knowledge. Huge fan of yours. Appreciate you as always. This is Matt Barnes, host, owner, entrepreneur, NBA star, little bit of everything. And my man, I appreciate you. And hopefully we could do this again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And Kings Nation, man, don't give up. There's still some time left. This is one of those seasons. But again, we're just gonna have to see. A lot starts with management and ownership. That's where winning starts. You look at any team that wins, and from the top down, it's solid. So there's some work to do, and hopefully the work will be done. And I would love to see this team, get back on track and make a run second half of the season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bleav in Kings podcast. I'm your host, Mark Haynes. Me and Matt Barnes, we signing out. Till next time.